Hello everyone, it's Myung-Jan. Today I am going to read S6-6093 Future Energy, Chapter 4, Saving Energy. About half of the energy that we produce is wasted. Electricity is lost in power cables and cars waste fuel as they wait in traffic. Governments can save energy by building better power stations, for example, but we can help a lot too. Cars on the Santa Monica Freeway in Los Angeles. Thousands of people are trying to get to work, but they are going nowhere. A driver in Los Angeles spends about 70 hours a year in traffic that is not moving, while long lines of cars wait under the hot Californian sun. The engines are producing dangerous gases. Drivers look angrily at their watches. Sometimes you can't see the sun in Los Angeles because of all the pollution in the air. It's the same every morning in São Paulo, Moscow, Bangkok, and many other cities. What about other ways to travel? Walking and cycling to work or school are great ways to save energy and stay healthy as well. If you cannot cycle or walk somewhere, you can still save energy if you take a train or bus instead of driving. In a lot of cities, people are joining car sharing groups. Each person in the group drives their friends to work one day a week. Everyone saves petrol and money, and there are fewer cars on the road. Food all the time. Millions of tons of food are moving around the world. This uses huge amounts of energy, of course. You cannot grow tea in Iceland or rice in Qatar, so we have to buy food from other countries. It's great to eat Italian spaghetti or enjoy a hot cup of Kenyan coffee, but it is also good to think about where some of the food on our table comes from. If we want to save energy, we can try to buy more things that were produced in our country. In Turkish supermarket, for example, you can buy bananas from Anamur in Turkey or from Ecuador, which is 12,000 kilometers away. People say you shouldn't go into a supermarket when you feel hungry, and it's probably true. Supermarkets are full of fantastic things, and it's easy for hungry shoppers to buy more food than they really need. In European countries, each family throws away more than $1,000 of food every year. 20 to 25% of all the food that they buy. Some of that unwanted food has come in ships from the other side of the world. So next time you go shopping, it may be a good idea to eat something first. Energy at home. Imagine 2 power stations working 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. That's how much energy people in Britain waste by leaving things like TVs on standby, turned on and ready to use. Did you know that leaving a TV on standby all day can use the same amount of power as watching it for an hour? How many machines are on standby in your house? Can you turn any of them off? When you turn on a normal light bulb, only 10% of the electricity it uses turns into light. The other 98% is wasted as heat. Using energy-saving light bulbs save 80% of the electricity, and you can use them for much longer too. Do you like to heat your house to 26 Celsius in the winter or cool it to 18 degrees Celsius in the summer? Half of the energy that we use at home is used to heat or cool the house. You can save a lot of energy if you keep your house at 22 degrees Celsius all year and put on warmer or cooler clothes. It also takes a lot of energy to heat water. When you make a hot drink, it is good to heat just as much water as you need, not more. Rubbish. Every day, people in Greece throw away 8 million plastic bottles around the world. We produce millions of tons of rubbish every year. Some of this rubbish is recycled, but most of it is thrown into big holes in the ground. Rubbish like this may be dangerous for animals and people for hundreds of years. Recycling an old aluminum drink container only uses 5% of the energy that we need to produce a new one. Rubbish is taken to places called a recycling center, Weight is put into different groups. Later, each different kind of rubbish is broken into pieces and made into new materials. Recycling is easy to do. It is good for the natural world and it saves a lot of energy. Is there a recycling center near you? Saving energy means thinking more about the things that we do every day. If we do this, we can stop a lot of pollution and save money too. Chapter 5, The Power of the Atom. On a cold afternoon in December 1951, a small group of scientists stood in a room in Idaho, USA. They watched excitedly at four ordinary light bulbs. As four ordinary light bulbs were turned on, they shouted and shook hands. They had just invented a new way to make electricity, nuclear power. Today, nuclear power produces about 13% of the world's electricity. 1 kilogram of nuclear fuel can have as much energy as 1.5 million kilograms of coal. When nuclear power was invented, some people thought it was the answer to all our energy problems. Today, many people are afraid of it. So what is nuclear power? And what are the dangers? Everything around us is made of atoms. Some metals like uranium are radioactive, which means that the center of the atom can break. The process of breaking the center of the atom is called nuclear fission, and it is this process that produces nuclear energy. Uranium-235, the type of uranium that we usually use for fuel, is found in rocks around the world. It is difficult and expensive to get it from the rocks and make it into fuel. In nuclear power station, sticks of uranium-235 fuel are put inside a place called a nuclear reactor. Other sticks called the control rods go between the sticks of fuel. They stop the reactor from becoming too hot. In most reactors, water is used to cool the fuel, and the water then becomes hot. This hot water moves through pipes and heats clean water outside the reactor. The clean water turns into steam that moves steam turbine. Energy from nuclear fission travels through other things. This moving energy is called radiation, and it makes everything inside the reactor building radioactive. Radiation is very dangerous for people. So nuclear reactors have thick, strong walls. These stop water, gas, or anything inside the reactor from escaping. About 30 countries have nuclear power stations, and others want to build them. Many people think that using nuclear power is better than burning fossil fuel because it does not produce gases like CO2. Now, the people worry about nuclear waste and accidents. Nuclear safety. All the fuel and other waste from nuclear reactors is very radioactive and very dangerous. Some waste is recycled and used in the reactors again, but a lot is kept in very strong containers under the ground. This worries many people. Could nuclear waste get into water in the ground one day? Could people steal nuclear waste and use it to make a bomb? Some nuclear waste will be dangerous for 20,000 years. That's a long time to keep something safe. On 25th May 1986, nuclear fuel in a reactor at the Chernobyl power station in the Ukraine began to get hotter and hotter. Workers could not cool the reactor, and finally it exploded. Radioactive fuel and control rods were thrown high into the air. Fires in the reactor burned for 15 days, and radioactive smoke traveled across Europe and the Black Sea. By 2005, 56 people had died because of the accident. Scientists think that in time, about 4,000 people in the Ukraine, Belarus, and other countries may die because of Chernobyl. Today, most nuclear power stations are much safer than they were at the time of Chernobyl. But things can still go wrong. On March 11th, March 11, 2011, a huge earthquake happened under the sea near Japan. About 40 minutes later, a wave 40 meters high hit the coast near the 40-year-old Fukushima nuclear power station. Water destroyed machines at the power station, so people could not cool the reactors. In the days after the accident, teams of brave engineers worked day and night to keep the power station safe. There were big explosions and radioactive gas went into the air. Later, radioactive water went into the sea. Much less radiation escaped from Fukushima than from Chernobyl, but it showed the world that safety in nuclear reactors is still terribly important. Nuclear fusion. Around the world, scientists are trying to build a new type of nuclear reactor. If they succeed, nuclear power will be much safer, and it will also become much more important. The new reactors will get energy from nuclear fusion. Nuclear fusion happens on the sun. It produces a lot more energy than nuclear fission. Inside the sun, atoms of hydrogen join together to make bigger helium atoms, and this produces a huge amount of energy. Future nuclear fusion reactors will not produce much waste. They will also be safer because you can stop the fusion process quickly. So why are we not using them today? Imagine trying to put the sun inside the room, and you will understand how difficult it is to build a fusion reactor. To start nuclear fusion, the atoms in the film must reach temperatures of about 150 million degrees Celsius. At the moment, people are trying different ways to start nuclear fusion and keep the hot fuel from touching the sides of the reactor. But it's very difficult. In the future, we may power our cities with nuclear fusion, but we have to find answers to a lot of problems first. While nuclear fuels continue to provide power in many countries, scientists keep looking for new fuels that are clean and safe, and some of the ideas are quite unusual. Superfuels, Chapter 6. Imagine growing fuel on trees or getting it from rubbish. Imagine cars that run on air or produce water, not pollution, all around the world. People are making surprising new fuels, biogas. Biogas is made from plants or natural water by living things called bacteria. They break the waste down and produce gases like methane and carbon monoxide. In most places, the gases pollute the air, but at the Bandeirantes near São Paulo in Brazil, pipes take the gas from under the ground. The gas is burnt at a power station to produce electricity for 400,000 people. The villagers in India use animal and food waste to make biogas. Bacteria break the waste down in a special container, and the gas is used for cooking and light. Just 1 kilogram of waste produces enough biogas to make a light work for 4 hours. In Sweden, they even make biogas for cars from toilet waste. A year's waste from 70 toilets makes enough fuel for a small car to travel 16,000 kilometers. Biofuels. Biofuels are made from fuels that grow. All this biofuel is wood, but today we are using different kinds of plants and even old coffee to make new biofuels. The problem with some biofuels is that it takes a lot of land to grow the fuel, which means less land for growing food. If you want to fly a Boeing 747 plane the 360 kilometers from London to Amsterdam on coconut biofuel, you will need to grow about 3 million coconut. There is another problem too. People may destroy forests to grow plants for biofuel. In Brazil, cars and buses have used a fuel called bioethanol for years. Bioethanol is great because we make it from the waste parts of plants that we already grow for food. Most Brazilian bioethanol is made from sugarcane, the tall plant that we grow for sugar. The sugarcane is broken up in machine, and the liquid is taken to make sugar. The rest of the plant is turned into paper or used to make bioethanol. Even the electricity that the bioethanol factories use comes from burning sugarcane. Burning biofuels produces gases like CO2. But when we grow them, the plants take CO2 out of the air. Because of this, sugarcane bioethanol produces 78% less CO2 than petrol. The newest biofuels are made from very small living things called algae. Algae produce more energy than other biofuels, and they can grow in places where we do not grow food, like seas and wasteland. In the future, people want to change the way that some bacteria and plants grow. In this way, they hope to get biofuels that work better and grow in different places. One day, there may be huge algae farms in the sea, and many buildings may grow biofuel plants on their roofs. Driving on air, electric cars do not burn fuel. Devices called batteries keep electricity and use it to power the engine. People have driven them for years, and they are a great way to have less pollution in city centers. But where does the electricity come from? It may come from burning coal, for example. Future electric cars will not need to get electricity from anywhere. People are developing new batteries which use a metal called zinc. When zinc mixes with oxygen from the air, chemical process makes electricity. When the battery is finished, the zinc can easily be recycled and used again. Hydrogen, the cleanest fuel is hydrogen. When hydrogen burns, it just makes water. We already have cars and even helicopters that use hydrogen. But this gas is difficult to produce. Today, most hydrogen is made from fossil fuels. And this produces pollution. About 4% of hydrogen is made from water. This processes use a lot of electricity and can be dangerous. In 2010, engineers invented a machine which uses energy from the sun to make hydrogen. Other people are trying to use bacteria to make it. These clean ways of making hydrogen are still very new. If they become cheaper, we may all drive hydrogen cars in the future. Scientists are developing lots of new fuels, but it will be a long time before most of us can use them. The biggest problem is finding the money to make the necessary changes to things like cars and petrol stations. For example, there are about 140,000 petrol stations in the USA today, but only 2,800 of them sell bioethanol. Renewable energy is energy which comes from things that go on and on, like the sun or the wind. Some of the fuels in this chapter are renewable, and some are not. Biofuels are renewable because we can grow them again every year. Hydrogen is a renewable fuel when we make it from water, but not when we make it from fossil fuels. In the next few chapters, we will look at some of the types of renewable energy. The end.